where he served as acting director of KU Center for East Asian Studies, chair of the Department of History, founding executive director of the Confucius Institute at the University of Kansas, and associate dean for international studies in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. An award-winning classroom teacher, he is the author or editor of 8 different books, including Manufacturing Ideology, Scientific Management in 20th Century Japan, Godzilla on My Mind, 50 Years of the King of Monsters, and Japanese Popular Culture and Globalization, as well as numerous articles on modern Japanese history. He has received Fulbright, ACLS, and Marshall Fellowships, and was awarded the John Whitney Hall Prize of the Association for Asian Studies in 2000, the William Rockwell Nelson Prize for Nonfiction in 2005, and the inaugural Bridges to Friendship Award of the Japan-America Society of Greater Austin in 2015. His teaching and research focus on the business, environmental, and cultural history of 20th century Japan. So please join me today in welcoming President Bill Tsutsui. Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be back here at Rotary at the start of my second year in Conway. My experience at Hendrix and in this town has been absolutely fabulous. And one reason it's been so great has been because of the people in this room. We have so many friends, alumni, faculty, and staff associated with Hendrix here. So many folks who've been so welcoming to Marjorie and me as we've moved to a new town and a new state. And I want to thank all of you for making Conway such a great place to live. A lot of people said when we left Dallas, how can you go to Conway, Arkansas? And I always respond to them, how can you not want to go to Conway, Arkansas? Have you seen the traffic in Dallas recently? This really is a wonderful, wonderful place to live. So I'm so thankful to find a new home at Hendrix and here at Conway. I think we probably need to change the nickname of our town from the City of Colleges to the City of College Presidents, because this room is just crawling with them. It is an honor and a pleasure to have Tom and Terry here, and especially to have Tim Cloyd, who left such big shoes for me to fill up at Hendrix. So thank you all for being here today. Well, I think as you all will have seen if you picked up a newspaper this morning, we have lots of big news from Hendrix this week. And no, I did not arrange my Rotary appearance just so it could follow on the Dawkins gift, but it did happen nicely that way. It was a very, very special day at Hendrix yesterday, and I realize it's probably a once-in-a-lifetime day for a college president, that everybody had a smile on their face after we announced the $26 million estate gift. You know, it's one of those amazing things that we'd not planned for, we'd not heavily worked for, but just was a blessing that came to us. And it really is going to be transformational for the school. I'll talk in a minute about some of our priorities going forward. The Dawkins gift is really going to help us keep Hendrix affordable and accessible for all students of talent in Arkansas and beyond. It's also going to help us get started on the fundraising for an important new capital project for us, a welcome center, a home for our offices of admission and financial aid that'll be located on the northeast side of campus on the site of the present Rainey building. The Rainey building, I don't know if any of you have been in it recently. It is not a thing of beauty. I have said to all the residents there, if you really are going to miss this building too much, I'll get you a cinder block to take home with you. We'll be okay. The other big news, of course, is that we have a very large freshman class with us this year at Hendrix. 414 bright young faces arrived on the first day of classes. Our head count is about the same as last year, right around 1,350, since we also graduated a large class in May. But it is a really exciting time for us. All that enthusiasm and energy and a little bit of fear in those new students really makes campus a great place to be. Let me give you some facts and figures about this new class because I'm real proud of some of the achievements we made in recruiting last year. First, it is our largest recruiting class from the state of Arkansas in more than a decade. Thanks largely, I think, to the Hendrix Arkansas Advantage program, which we introduced last year, and I'll talk more about that in a second. This year's class also has stronger academics than last year's class, higher class ranks, higher average ACT, higher average SAT scores. So they're a smart bunch even by Hendrix standards. One of the most remarkable things about this class, and I barely believed it when I saw the figure, was this year we have equal numbers of new students coming in who are men and women. And if you look at the statistics, just for higher education in America in general, 58% of the college students in this country are women. And if you go to most liberal arts colleges, you'll see 60+% of the students on those campuses women. So being able to recruit a balanced class this year is something quite amazing. We are also more diverse than last year's class. 22% and change of this year's class is from domestic diverse communities as opposed to 18% last year. And I'm also proud that we have 48 first-generation students in our entering class. So we've been really trying hard to reach out, to diversify Hendrix and to make it accessible to kids from all backgrounds, and I'm thrilled that we're having these kind of results. I hope freshmen move in again this year, and yet again I was surprised by how many families seem to go to Best Buy and purchase one of everything and think somehow it would fit into a 5x5 room in Galloway Hall. I went on one of our freshman orientation trips with 15 new students to Lost Valley for some hiking in the Ozarks, and I never saw so many terrified young people. So they were not scared by backwoods Arkansas or by the fear of black bears. They were instead terrified by the fact that we had no cell service where we were staying. So a whole weekend without texting was very, very trying for them. So going into this new academic year, I'm very excited about the generous gift from Mary Ann Dawkins. I'm very excited about our freshman class. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our athletic programs. And of course, you heard in the spring in this club from our athletic director, who's just wonderful, Amy Weaver. And you all know warrior number one, Vance Strange, who does so much for our athletic programs on campus. We had a great year on the field last year. Football, of course, had a winning season in its second year back, which is pretty amazing. And we had 2 conference championships and NCAA playoff appearances. Those were in volleyball and in men's basketball. This year, Coach Buck has a deeper and larger roster than ever before. He has 80+ young men on the football team. We have a beautiful new field, a new playing surface in the stadium that will be dedicated in September to Hippo Crafton and Winston Faulkner, thanks to the tremendous generosity of Linda and Rush Harding, who made that possible for us. And the orange really glows. It's like looking out into this room. If you look at the new football field, those end zones are really gorgeous. We have a tremendous home schedule of football games this year, and I hope to see many of you out there. We are thrilled to be playing Lyon College, which followed in our footsteps by bringing football back, and they will be in Conway for a game in September. And then, of course, our big rivalry game against Rhodes will be at home this year. And as I said to the team when I met with them a few weeks ago, save a little bit extra for Rhodes. Finally, we got to bring this one home. We'll also start creating a tradition of homecoming beginning the weekend of September 26th, which is also family weekend. The alums really wanted to see this, and I'm thrilled about it, so we will have homecoming at Hendrix. And I want to do a special shout out to Simmons Bank and to Jason in particular, who's helped us. We will have a beautiful alumni tent set up for tailgating at all of our games this year, and I hope to see y'all out there. And of course, we also have very high expectations for how this season is going to go. Coach Buck has been very quiet, which makes me think things are going very well. Now, as I look forward to the next year at Hendrix, 3 things are really at the top of my agenda. First, we are really focused at Hendrix on keeping our world-class education accessible and affordable for every bright person who would benefit from the rigorous, high-touch, individualized liberal arts education we offer. And we are particularly concerned about keeping Hendrix within the reach of all families in Arkansas and of students from diverse communities. As I've said many times, Hendrix's heritage is to take talented young people from all backgrounds and empower them through education to lead lives of meaning, become the professional bedrock of communities in Arkansas and around the world, and be well prepared for careers of distinction and service. Hendrix has been a social escalator for this state and this region, and now more than ever, we need to keep fulfilling this role and to do even more to open our gates and open our pocketbook to all the deserving, aspiring students out there. So the two programs that we've really been working hard on are first the Hendrix Arkansas Advantage. We announced this last December. It is aimed at Arkansas high school graduates who have a 3.6 or higher GPA and have scored a 27 or better on the ACT or above 1,200 on the SAT. If the students meet those requirements, Hendrix will guarantee that we will meet their full demonstrated financial need. So we have 160 students on campus this year taking advantage of the Hendrix Arkansas Advantage program, and this is what stunned me. I asked my Vice President for Enrollment, what is our average aid award to these students? And I looked at this number and I said, how can we still be in business? Because our average aid award to these students is just short of $40,000. Okay? So that does not include work study or loans. That is pure aid award from Hendrix and from the state. So this really is a wonderful program making Hendrix accessible. And we've seen that in our internal statistics. We'd found for a number of years Hendrix had done extraordinarily well in recruiting students from relatively high incomes, as happens at most liberal arts colleges, but we'd struggled really to get a good yield for students from middle and lower incomes. This last year we held firm at that high income level, but we really increased our yield for middle and lower income students. And I'm really proud of that, and I hope we can continue that trend in the future. We've also been working hard on partnerships to increase diversity on campus, and last fall and spring we signed our first two. They were with LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens, the Arkansas chapter, and KIPP Delta Public Schools. If you don't know KIPP, you should know KIPP. It is a national program that goes into underserved communities around the country and really promotes education as the way that people can change their lives and grow and succeed. It is an inspirational place located in Helena, West Helena, a town that if you just drive through it doesn't seem to have a lot of hope on every street corner, but when you walk into the KIPP school, the hope hits you hard in the face. Those kids realize that by getting an education, they can do something great. We have one LULAC student on campus this year. We have 3 students from KIPP with us, and we hope to expand that program in the future. As I said, the Hendrix Arkansas Advantage is a full need scholarship program. So based on how much need families have based on a federal formula, we agree to meet that. With these programs, with LULAC and KIPP, those are really full ride scholarships. Those kids have no financial ability to speak of. And so we are giving them a chance to attend college. And you know, the scholarship even includes money for books and some money to go home and vacations and so forth. So we are trying as hard as we can to make it possible for these incredibly deserving kids with so much potential to get our world-class education. Keep your eyes open in the next couple months. We hope to make more announcements of partnerships, especially in the Little Rock area, because we think this is the way forward for us. You know, when it comes to diversity, we can throw the doors open and say, y'all come down all you want. It just doesn't work very well unless we really build those relationships. So KIPP and LULAC have been good for us, and we're going to make more in the Little Rock area in the weeks to come. So accessibility and affordability are sort of job one. The second thing we're focused on this year at Hendrix are retention and graduation rates. We already have the highest 4- and 6-year graduation rates in the state. Our 4-year graduation rate is about 65%. And just for comparison, there's no criticism implied here. Fayetteville is in the high 30s. Our 6-year rate is over 70%, and Fayetteville's 60%. And folks like KIP, as we've talked about partnerships with them, have been very upfront with us. They've said one reason we are enthusiastic about partnering with Hendrix is because we know you will move students through the pipeline quickly. If you've been gearing up a high school student to go and pursue that college education, if that's lasting 6 or 7 years, boy, that's a long time horizon for them to work with. But if they can know in 4 years they can and will get done, and then get on to career or further graduate education, that's a strong message. And this is a message I really want to get out this year, because I think it's one that really resonates with a lot of families. That when you look at that college bill you're going to get in the mail come August, you need to think really about how long you're going to be paying that bill. And I think for a number of families, making that investment in 4 years in Hendrix, even if it's a little bit larger every year, might end up being a lot more financially advantageous than paying for 6 or 7 years at a lot of other campuses, including some very prestigious places where 6 years is pretty much the standard. That being said, we're proud of our numbers, we're proud of leading the state. They're still not good enough. A lot of our competitors, places like Rhodes, Sewanee, WashU, Duke, they have higher numbers than we do. We're 65% in 4-year graduation rate. Rhodes is a little over 70% in 4-year graduation rate. So we want to push those numbers up. And we have been working very hard on campus-wide strategies, on better uses of data, and on really targeting our efforts on at-risk and at-need students to make sure that we can get up into that very elite group. If you pass 70% a year in 4-year graduation rates, you are among the top 75 universities in this nation. So we're darn close, and I really want to get over that barrier. Now the third thing sort of on my agenda for the future, and if you've managed to stay awake through points 1 and 2, you will have heard what I'm stressing at Hendrix is building on tradition and building on our existing strengths to be the best that we can possibly be at what we've always done and continue to do extremely well. It might not be the flashiest message, but I think it's the right one. Now, as y'all know, and I think being residents of a college town like Conway, y'all know even more than some people, we're going through some rough times right now in American higher education. Colleges and universities are being beaten up in the media and around kitchen tables all over America for costing too much, for not preparing graduates adequately for employment, and for being tone deaf to the concerns of students and families and the changing demands of the marketplace. And American higher education, frankly, has not responded all that well in recent years to the challenges facing it. I recently asked one of my resident assistants, one of the counselors who live in the dorms at Hendrix, what training she had had in dealing with emergencies. And she replied in good Hendrix tongue-in-cheek fashion, "Oh, we learned 3 strategies for dealing with an emergency. First, panic. Second, run around in circles. And third, find somebody to blame." And that pretty much seems to summarize what American colleges and universities have been doing for the past decade or so. Faced with unprecedented public criticism, most institutions have gotten scared and done what seems like the safe thing. Run with the pack of the latest big new thing, throwing money at the latest fad like MOOCs, busily benchmarking themselves against competitors by robotically copying everything they do, and adding programs and bells and whistles frantically, and in the process spending heavily just to end up looking like everybody else. As a result, I feel today that American colleges and universities are less distinctive than they have been in decades, if not forever. Big state schools boast of the same things that tiny liberal arts colleges do. Traditional Catholic schools have recruiting brochures that read remarkably much like land-grant universities and technology institutes and even community colleges. We all have rock climbing walls and flipped classrooms, living learning communities and huge internship programs, unique freshman experiences, and study abroad programs in your country of choice. What colleges and universities now lack, I would suggest, is a real sense of character and a commitment to doing what they do best and embracing what they truly are, rather than doing the 1,001 things that every other post-secondary institution is doing and trying to keep ahead of the curve. So at Hendrix, our focus for now is not jumping on any shiny new bandwagons, not copying others simply because everyone else is doing it and it seems like the safe thing to try. It means a healthy, very Hendrixy skepticism toward the latest trends and fads that are flashy and often expensive and often lacking in substance. As we look to the future, our plan is not to forget our past, not to forget our mission, and not to forget the values and standards and educational philosophy that got us where we are today. Sure, we're going to change. And of course, we're going to keep our eye on what our competitors are doing. But the way forward for us, I'm convinced, is to strengthen the core of who we are and what we do best. Hendrix is and will be a small and supportive community made up of thoughtful, independent-minded individuals dedicated to a rigorous liberal arts education as the best preparation for life and career. In short, if you want to peek into Hendrix's future, I would say more of the same, but better. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you all might have. Yes, sir.
What part do you attribute the equalization of gender in the freshman class to football?
You know, football is part of it. You know, I think that has changed the dynamic on campus in significant ways. I think it's actually changed the dynamic in more than sort of that gender balance. I think it's also changed sort of the political tone on the Hendrix campus as well. I mean, Hendrix has its reputation for being an extraordinarily liberal place. And I think football has given us more political diversity as well as more gender diversity on campus. And that's a really good thing because it's allowed for better conversations around issues. We've also had great recruiting years this year in men's lacrosse and in men's soccer. And, you know, at a small place like Hendrix, 5 or 10 students added to a team like that means a great deal. So I'm not sure we're going to be at 50-50 going down the road, but I really hope we can, you know, stay on the more balanced side of that national 58% figure.
Okay, are you going to talk about what you're going to do with this gift that you...
I can talk about the gift! So, two things we're really going to focus on are helping us support and extend the Hendrix Arkansas Advantage program. It has been great for us. The number of fabulous stories I've heard about the Advantage, they're inspiring stories. My wife's hairdresser is in North Little Rock. My wife went in the week after it was announced. She said, I just read in the Democrat Gazette about the Advantage program. And I have a 15-year-old at home. And my husband and I have been pushing him to go to Fayetteville ever since he was born. But now we think he might be able to do Hendrix. I'm like, wow, that's great. I met another woman in Little Rock, and she said to me, you know, the day that came out, I printed it off from the computer, and I gave it to my son. He's a junior in high school. And he thought he probably couldn't do Hendrix because of his grades and because of the money. We now have something to shoot for in the grades. We have something we can afford in the money. He took that printout and he tacked it to his bedroom wall so he would know what he needed to do. So to me, that's really inspirational. And the great thing about that, you know, setting these targets of 3.6 GPA, 1200 SAT, 27 ACT, that helps everybody. You know, because a lot of those students might be thinking, I can go to Hendrix, but end up going to UCA or CBC or somewhere else in the state. I hope this will raise everybody's boats in Arkansas by giving folks, you know, a goal that's clear out there. Yeah, we'll work on it. The other thing, of course, is expanding these partnerships. These full-ride partnerships to increase diversity on our campus are extremely expensive. You know, it's extremely important for us, and we have donors who have helped us make this possible, but a lot of that is just coming out of our bottom line. And the Dawkins gift is really going to be significant in helping us there. And that's going to require a big change on our campus. You know, I think, again, Hendrix is a very welcoming place, but it hasn't been a terribly diverse place for a long time. And so we're going to have to sort of adjust how we look at the world, and that's going to be good for us in the future. Then the final thing we're going to do is launch the project to build the Welcome Center on campus. And that's really exciting. I don't know how many of you have been at Ellis Hall, which is the old president's house. It is the oldest building on campus. If you walk in, you'd say it's the most historic building in campus, and it's that meaning of historic that's not good. It is a very cramped and not quite up-to-date kind of place. We have thousands of potential students and their families coming through that building every year. It is not a very welcoming place. There is very poor privacy, and people are talking about their financial needs and so forth. We just need a state-of-the-art facility. If you go to a lot of campuses around the country, you'll see, boy, those welcome centers are every bell and whistle you can imagine. You go to a place like TCU or Northwestern, they're gorgeous welcome centers. Ours won't have Lake Michigan out the window or purple horned frogs all over it, but it'll really capture, I think, that home spirit of Hendrix. We're going to try and reproduce the fireplace from Hewlin Hall, so that when you walk in, you can see a fire there in front of you. And my hope was that we'd have sweet tea and fresh baked chocolate chip cookies for everybody who comes in. And that goes for y'all too, if y'all want to come and visit. We're only putting a small part of the gift from Marianne Dawkins toward that. We're going to have to go out and raise the rest. But we've been speaking to other donors. We've had great success so far because they realize how important that is to welcome folks, to really roll out the red carpet or the orange carpet to people who visit Hendrix. I will.
So every year our Rotary Club hosts a pancake breakfast during Toast-Up Days, and the proceeds from that event go to college scholarships for local students. And so we have a check to present to Hendrix College, a third of the proceeds from this year's event.
Thank you so much.